Today is May 12th, 2009. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Charles Selby in Oklahoma City. Sir, where were you born?
Foster, Oklahoma.
Foster, Oklahoma. When's your birthday?
17 May 1929.
1929. Who was your father?
C.R. Selby.
And your mother?
Moselle Douthit.
How do you spell Moselle?
Mozzell.
And what's the last name?
Douthit. Douthit.
Did you go through school in Foster?
I went to school in Foster until the middle of the 7th grade. Then I went to Purnell the rest of until I graduated high school.
Purnell. Where's Purnell located?
It's on Highway 76. South of Lindsay, go down Lindsay and then
Okay.
on the way to Riley City.
Yeah. What type of work did your father do?
He was a farmer.
What chores did you do in the farm?
I plowed. I baled hay. I done everything is necessary. Milked, fed the hogs.
What kind of tractor do you have?
Mules.
Mules. You have a walking plow or riding plow?
Both. We had a walking plow, then we had a riding plow.
What are the name of your mules?
Mike and Dolly.
Mm-hmm. What crops did you raise?
We raised corn, cotton, oats, broomcorn, maize.
Mm-hmm. How many pounds of cotton could you pick in one day?
The most I ever picked was 300. I mean picked, not pulled,
Did you pull bowls too?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the cotton we picked it, we didn't pull it.
Yeah. Where was the gin?
Elmore City.
Elmore City. Ever get to Aaron Springs?
Aaron Springs. I don't know.
They have that big Murray mansion there, the big house.
No, I never did.
Okay.
See, this is south. You talking about?
Yeah. In what year did you graduate from high school?
1947.
1947. In school, who was your favorite teacher?
Well, the one I had the longest was Miss Milburn. The one that my 5th grade teacher at Foster was the guy, him and his wife met me in San Francisco when I was released from, got off the ship.
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead.
And took me out to his house. We had lunch, and then he took me to the airport in time to catch the plane at 6 in the evening. Because
What were their names?
R.L. Spradling. He was my 5th grade teacher at Foster.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to whoop us just every little bit.
Who were the old timers in Foster that you remember?
Old timers. Well, Jap Hinkle was our mail carrier. Even after we moved, he was a rural route mail carrier. The only route they had out of Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Nash was the general store owner.
What was the name of the store?
Nash grocery store.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How big was the town of Foster? How many people?
I don't know. At the most, I guess it was probably between 200 and 300 maybe. At the biggest,
Was there a movie theater in Foster?
no.
What'd you do for recreation in high school?
In high school,
Yeah.
we used to go to all of the ball games. You know, basketball, baseball,
You play sports?
not much. I was kind of clumsy at that time.
Now, how big was the town of Purnell?
Purnell, it wasn't very big. It was kind of spread out. I mean, it was more or less an oil field town, and, but it had a new. They built a new school building there, and along about in the early 40s. And so,
How did the Depression affect you and your family?
well, it didn't affect us, I guess, as much as it did some people because, you know, we were on the farm, raised most of everything we eat.
Did you have any dust storms in that area?
Any what?
Dust storms, the Dust Bowl?
No.
Okay.
We had some dust, but not like they did in the
Yeah.
western part of the state. I mean, you know.
Now, who are your grandparents?
R.C. Daffett and Maggie Daffett. There he is up there.
Now, did they live in Oklahoma?
Yeah, Foster.
When did they come to Foster?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They came from Georgia.
They did. Have any ancestors in the Civil War?
I don't know.
Okay. Where were you December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Probably in high school.
What did you think when you
No,
heard?
41. No, I wasn't old enough to be in high school then.
When you heard about the attack, what did you think?
Thought, whoa, we in trouble now.
Did you help with the scrap metal drives and rubber drives?
Oh yeah, we sold a lot of scrap metal, old plows and things that we didn't have any use for. There was always somebody coming around in a wagon buying scrap metal.
Who bought up all the scrap metal, do you know?
I have no idea. Just every few weeks, somebody'd come down the road, stop at every house.
In school, did you follow the progress of the war?
Oh yeah, we knew what was going on. I had a lot of relatives in World War II. Mother had 3 brothers. Daddy had 1, 2. I don't know how many nephews on here.
Y'all come back?
Yeah.
What'd you do in VJ Day when the war ended? That was August of 45.
45. August of 45. I was probably playing.
So what'd you do after high school?
Went to work on pipeline.
Where?
We were laying a pipeline between 2 refineries they had just built. One in Antioch and one at Maysville. And we were running a pipeline from Antioch to Maysville.
Who'd you work for?
Holland Construction Company.
Holland Construction. What'd you do on the pipeline?
I was a welder's helper,
A welder's helper.
you know.
Now what does a welder's helper do?
He keeps the welder supplied with welding rods, keeps the welding machine filled with gas and keeps it running, chips the flak off of the welding so he can lay another bead over the first bead. I mean, you know, keeps you busy.
Was it acetylene?
Electric arc.
Or electric arc? Okay.
Had, one of these portable machines with a
Mhm.
4-cylinder engine, and
How long do you work for Holland Construction?
I'm not sure how many months,
Okay.
because one day we were there talking to this James Anderson, who I went to high school with, talking about being drafted. He said, well, I'd already be gone. I had somebody go. I said, what are you waiting for? And he said, let's go.
So when did you join?
And I give my car keys to Daddy, and because he was working there at the time, it was slow time at the on the farms.
So when did you join?
July 2nd, 1948.
And you joined the
Army,
Army. Where'd you go for your basic training?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
How'd you travel to Fort Jackson?
Train. They put us on a train.
Tell me about the trip.
That was, I have no idea how we got there. We stopped at every place. We stopped in Memphis, Tennessee. We stopped in New Orleans. How we got to New Orleans, I don't know. And then we stopped someplace else, I forget now. Anyway,
Tell me about basic training.
it was in summertime, and it was hot, and the sand was deep, and it was tough.
What type of training did you have?
Well, we started off, we'd get up in the morning, make our bunk, everything, eat breakfast, then we'd fall out, full field pack, rifle, everything, and we'd head out down through the sand dunes. We'd do a 10-mile march and be back in time for lunch. In the afternoon, we had those long poles. We'd wrestle with those, you know.
What's your most vivid memory of basic?
Rifle range.
Rifle range.
Something I knew something about.
What rifle did you fire?
M1,
M1. What'd you fire? Expert?
expert.
Expert?
I fired expert with a rifle every time I went to the range. Whether it was M1, M14, or carbine. Always expert.
Basic lasted how long?
8 weeks.
Then where'd you go?
Fort Sam Houston.
What'd you do there?
Went to medical aid school.
And what is medical aid school?
It's you learn how to be a medic in an infantry company, administer first aid.
That training lasted how long?
12 weeks, I think.
What was the reaction of the local people in San Antonio to you?
Everybody was, I don't know, they respected the military because all those air bases were there at the same time. And I was at Fort Sam Houston. And, I mean, everybody expected the military to be there. And so they were all friendly.
Now, was this during the Berlin airlift? Do you recall that?
It was in late 1948.
That was the Berlin airlift?
No, when I was going to
Okay. So from Fort Sam Houston, where'd you go?
Fort Bliss.
What'd you do there?
I drove an ambulance at the #1 dispensary, and drove an ambulance to pick up people, deliver them, take them from the dispensary to the hospital, and so.
Were you assigned to a unit?
Big boy,
Had you been assigned to a unit?
No, it was just the medical group there at Fort Bliss,
So you were part of the cadre at Fort Bliss?
and I was drove the ambulance. I finally got on night shift where I worked 24 hours off 48.
I took basic at Fort Bliss up at Logan Heights.
Logan Heights, yeah, I remember that. We used to haul a lot of people from Logan Heights to the hospital.
So you were at Fort Bliss how long?
Until 1950. In June 1950,
Where'd you go in June of 1950?
a troop train to Fort Lewis, Washington.
Did you know Korea was heating up this time?
I had no idea where Korea was.
So what'd you do at Fort Lewis?
I was assigned to the 2nd Infantry Division. I was processed. All your civilian clothes was taken. They issued us gear for combat, process us, give us shots. We were there about a week, and then we were loaded onto a ship, the whole regiment, and
What ship did you get on?
Stewart, General
US
Stewart.
USS General Stewart.
And to Korea we went.
Had you seen the ocean before?
No.
First time you saw the ocean, what'd you think?
I said, well, that's a lot of water. And we run into rough water about 7, 8 days out.
And where'd you get on the ship?
Seattle.
Seattle. When you were leaving Seattle, heading out, what were you thinking?
I thought, where we going? Korea? I still didn't know where it was. Had no idea where it was.
What kind of ship was the General Stewart?
It was a two-stacker. And it had a whole regiment with all their gear on it. I mean, we were crowded. I mean, it was, air conditioner didn't work. And about 7 or 8 days out, we hit rough water, and they run everybody below deck and closed the doors. And hot, it got hot. Everybody running up and down them stairwells and vomiting. It was some one smelly outfit before the water waves settled down to where we could get out on deck again.
Did you get seasick?
No.
Where are your quarters on the ship?
We were way down. I don't know about. We were about the second deck up from the bottom, I guess. Had those canvas hammocks. I mean, just as many as they could stack in there.
What were you told to do if you had to abandon ship? Where'd you have to go?
Well, they never did tell us. Yeah, we did. We had drills where you had your life jacket and which side of the ship you were on, and they showed us how to lower the lifeboats into the water so we could get off.
Where'd the ship go?
Busan.
You go straight to Korea?
We went straight to Busan.
What'd you do at Busan?
We boarded a train and headed north for about just a short distance out there to that first river. I forget the name of that.
When did you arrive in Korea?
About, I don't know, 13, 14 days after we left Seattle.
That was in June of 1950.
July.
July. So you left July of 1950. Okay.
Yeah, because in June we boarded the troop train. And we were on that train. It seemed like forever because we made every whistle stop. We would stop, we'd do PT when it would stop for 30 minutes or more at a time. And so we were about 4 or 5 days getting to Seattle.
So what'd you do when you on the train to Tucson North? You got off the train. What'd you do?
Well, we went right all the way to the front lines, which was just a short distance out of Tucson, and we got off of the train and rushed into cover because the North Koreans was on one side of the river and Allies was on the south side of the river, and that's where the fighting was going on. And we were right there during the night. We joined them in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. What company were you with?
I was with medical company.
What battalion or regiment?
2nd Battalion, 38th Infantry, 2nd Division.
So you go into combat, and what do you do?
I'm a platoon aid man.
What happened?
On the 7th of September, I got wounded. 81 millimeter mortar landed too close and got a bunch of us at the same time.
Is that in the same area, north
In
of
the same.
Tucson?
We were up on this little hill there, just overlooking the river.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I went to Japan to the hospital. I was there till end of October or so. And when they released me there, they give me 7-day convalescent leave before went back to Korea. And my James Anderson, the guy I enlisted with, was stationed there in Japan as a dental assistant. So I went down there and spent my time there, and then come back. They put us on a Japanese ship back to Korea.
You rejoined your unit?
Rejoined my unit, same unit, yeah.
What did you join? The same place? Did you?
No, they were all the way up in Sewell when I got back.
Okay.
Oh,
So how far is Sewell from Tucson?
well, I'm not sure it was. Because see, Tucson is way down in the south end, and Sewell is way up close to the 38th parallel. We were there for, after I got back, we were there for, I don't know, a couple of weeks. And so we were refreshing, retraining and everything. And then we loaded on convoys and headed out. We were assigned to whatever company. I was assigned to G Company, 2nd Division. And we drove across the 38th parallel into the Coonery Valley.
Which valley?
Coonery Valley.
How you spell that?
I have no idea. And then we set up camp, and we were there for a couple of days. Then the platoon I was assigned to, we were sent on outposts. We went about 4.5, 5 miles north, set up on this little hill for outposts, and they told us to be on the lookout, said we might hear some Chinese activity. We got set up, one machine gun, and it was all pointed north and everything was quiet. Nothing, no birds, no nothing. And it was cold. And we were there a couple of days, nothing, no sound, no nothing. And about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you never heard so much noise. Chinese came, not from the north, not from the south. They came from all directions. We were completely surrounded. And they kept coming and coming and coming. They overrun that machine gun, just They never shot him or nothing. They just flat overrun him. He couldn't shoot them fast enough. Overrun it, took him down and beat him to death. And out of the platoon, they were only 7 of us survived.
Out of how many?
Out of a platoon of 4 squads plus, I don't know, somewhere around 36 to 40 people in the platoon.
So what happened?
And after they caught us, after it was all over, everybody knew where no one else was. I was all alone. Nowhere in, and they took us back to this area where there were more Chinese. And they had this little hut that nothing but just a hut without any windows, just a door. And they shoved me in there. And there was 6 other people from the platoon that they had caught.
When were you captured? What was the date?
26 November 1950. And they kept us in that little hut there and about 2 o'clock in the afternoon the following day, they took us out and lined us up, said, we're going to ask you some questions. And they had a machine gun sitting up right over there. And said, you better answer or you'll regret it. And they started asking us questions. We had no idea what they were talking about. And after a while, they put us back in the hut. The following day, about the same time, they took us back out there. Said, we're going to ask you some more questions. This time it was a whole different group of questions. And we had no idea what they were talking about. It was more like battalion level or regiment level questions and we had no idea what they were talking about. So. And this went on for 3 days. They keep bringing us out. And the next day, we still hadn't had nothing to eat. The next day they brought us out. We said, well, here we go again. Only this time, no machine gun. They had one of these big wash pots there, full of corn and water. Just corn like you'd feed the hogs or chickens or whatever, and in this pot of water. No season, no salt, no anything. And they give us a small cup of corn. And that's what we had to eat. First meal we had. And along about just before sundown, they started bringing other Americans that they had captured from all over the 38th Regiment, 2nd Division, different areas. And they all gathered there. I mean, they kept coming and coming and coming. And about dark, we all headed north. Guards, I've never seen so many Chinese guards. We started north, and it was cold, and we walked all night. Next morning, they shoved us in this little village with vacant houses, you know, nothing left in them but just, and it put as many in as they could get in there. Didn't have room to lay down. I mean, you were just in there, just packed in like. And we spent the day. That night, about sundown, they started taking us out of these different houses wherever we were at until lined us up again, and we started down the road again. Always at night, never. And for water, the only thing we had for water was either eat snow or icicles or whatever we could. We had nothing to eat, no water. And after a few days out, we had no idea where we were at or where we were going. And every 2 or 3, sometimes 4 days, They'd give us something to eat, whether it would be a cup of corn or millet or sorghum seed, or cook it in this big wash pot with just water, no seasoning on that. Just a cup of that, but something you'd feed your chickens in the barnyard, And we walked at night, always at night. And people would drink out of streams would go by, all that water's contaminated. Everything was contaminated. Everybody had diarrhea. If you dropped behind, that was too bad. Or the guard would drop back with you. And a little while later, you'd hear a shot. And a few minutes later, here's the guard would catch up. And I don't know, the first 3 months I was captured, I guess, I lost about half of my body weight. It was.
How much did you weigh when you were captured?
When I was released from Japan Hospital in late October, I weighed 191 pounds with nothing on but my shorts. Before they discharged me, it weighed me. And I guess at the lowest point, I probably weighed less than 100 pounds.
Now, where were they marching you to?
We wound up in what they called the mining camp.
Mining camp.
We were there a few days, and then they moved us out, and they moved us into Camp 5, where everybody was segregated. Officers went one way, the NCOs the other, and the rest of us stayed in Camp 5.
Where's Camp 5 located?
It's in that book there. Let me show you that book right there.
What, this book?
That book.
Okay.
There's a map in here. All of this.
Okay. China, Camp 5. Where's Camp?
Let me see. Is that the right map? Yeah, here they are. See them? They're numbered here.
Oh, okay. I see. Camp 5 is right there. That's China. Korea. Okay.
See, that doctor was in the 2nd Infantry Division, Army doctor, and he spent 1,010 days as a prisoner.
So you were right up on the Chinese border then?
We were right on the Yellow River. It was one side of our camp. In the summertime, that's the only place we had to take a bath. It was in the river, and where it was the Yellow River where it backed up.
What kind of barracks did you have in the camp?
We just had vacated Korean shacks, They moved all the Koreans out in this little small village here.
What was your average day in the camp? What did you do every day?
Well, they make us attend classes, learn the ways of the Communist Party. All of the officers there got their college education in the U.S. And they'd tell us, look, one day we're going to occupy America. And it just wasn't once in a while. It was continuous the whole time we were there. One day we're going to occupy America.
How big was the camp?
I guess we started out with probably about 3,000 people there. And that first spring, 51, through that cold weather, I don't know, we must have lost, I don't know, close to half of them died from starvation and diseases and everything.
Now, was there a cemetery by the camp?
Well, we carry them out. The prisoners had to carry them out and bury them. The ones that were in your building, people from that building had to carry them out. And all we had to dig graves with was a pick and shovel. And at 40 below zero, it's kind of hard to dig a hole.
So what time would you get up in the morning?
We'd get up, I don't know, about daylight.
They have roll call?
They always have roll call. They might count us in the building, or we might have to come out. Later on, when the ice broke in the river, when the ice broke and they started bringing barges in from China, and they started bringing some vegetables, and we got a little more to eat at least once a day then. And when they would gather to eat, first thing to do was we had to sing the national anthem, the Chinese national anthem. You either sang or you didn't eat. Because they had plenty of guards around to see who did and who didn't sing. And if you didn't sing, you didn't eat. And it might be 2 days before you get another opportunity to eat or whatever. So,
now, when the river was frozen over, what were you eating?
well, we just, what they could scrounge from the Koreans, which wasn't much.
What was the main food you were eating at that time?
Well, like I said, we had corn, millet, sorghum, seed, even eat some soybeans. They cooked them like everything else, just in water, nothing else.
Who were the guards at the camp? Were they Korean or
Chinese?
Chinese. What was their attitude towards you, the Chinese guards?
They tell us we were just fodder for the imperialist rich people. So you got no business being here. You should join the Communist Party. Overthrow the imperialists. I mean, this was an everyday thing.
What kind of work did you do? Did you work?
Well, we had to go on wood detail because we had to go out and gather wood because the kitchen was a Korean kitchen with these mud clay holes with these big pots sitting down with room for three of them big pots in them. We had to go out and gather wood for the kitchen. In the winter, if we had any fire in the hut where we lived, we had to have wood for that. We had to go out on wood details. In the summertime, that was a good deal. Volunteer for every one of them. Out there, you could steal something to eat. Especially when corn was ready, roasting near tight and beyond, We always kept our trousers tied at the bottom. And we get close to a cornfield, a lot of them ears of corn would disappear. And then around the eaves of these houses, these Korean houses, they had stored tobacco in small bundles. They grow their own tobacco, garlic, peppers, all in small, just hanging under the eaves of the house all the way around. And if we come close to one of those houses, on our way out or back in with broken, dead tree limbs or whatever, anywhere close to one of those houses, a lot of that tobacco and garlic, pepper disappeared.
If you were caught with any of that, what happened?
You were put in a hole.
What's the hole?
It's under this little old building with a big hole in it. It's got about 18 inches, 2 feet of water in it. And it didn't matter whether it was in the wintertime or when it was. You were in there and no place for you to sit down, no place for you to lay down. in there. And in the wintertime, that water was cold.
How long would you be in the hole?
Well, it depended on what your offense was and how long it took you to apologize to the for breaking the rules and all of this. And in the wintertime, it was horrible. A lot of people froze their feet.
Did you go to the hole?
Never did get caught.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't get caught. A few did, you know.
Now, having a medical background, did you try to treat prisoners in the camp?
Well, didn't have any medication because your aid pack, they took that. So, but in the aid pack, it had morphine, bandages, different kinds of salve and aspirin and other things in that medical aid pack. But you know, they take it. You got nothing to work with. I mean, you're no better off than anyone else.
Did you receive mail?
Not until we'd been there. Let's see, 51. It was in '52, I guess, before we got any mail.
Did your family know you were a POW or were you missing in action?
Well, when they got the first letter back in late '52, I guess, before I finally, the letter went through, but they always censored everything. They tell you what you could write and what you couldn't write, so you just write as little as you could possibly and send it down there. Mm-hmm. They'd censor it coming in, they'd open it, and if they didn't want you to know it, they'd censor it out. And the first mail we got, some of those people, some of those prisoners that were married with families, when they finally got an answer back to the first letter, they found out that their wives had remarried. They thought they were dead and had remarried already. So.
How'd they censor the letters?
How'd they what?
How'd they censor the letters? Did they black it out, cut it out, or what?
Cut it out.
Cut it out. Mm-hmm. How long were you at Camp 5?
I was there until 53, early part of 53. Then they moved me down to Camp 3. And I was at Camp 3 then until they released us.
And you were released when?
19th of August, 1953.
Okay. How did Camp 3 compare to Camp 5?
Well, they were stricter down there and more of a. There was a small group of us out of Camp 5 went down to Camp 3, early in the 53 there.
Who was the Chinese commander of the camp?
Oh, I don't remember the name. It was.
What kind of guy was he?
They talked broken English. I mean, we got around a lot of their stuff, talking fast and using slang words, and they'd get so mad. And
now, when would you use slang? Or why would you use slang?
So they couldn't understand what we were talking about. It was, like I said, it was, didn't come up very often that we'd have an occasion to do that. But they would continue to tell us, one day we're going to occupy America.
What kind of slang would you use?
You know, words that used instead of saying I don't know, it was difficult to say. Some people even use pig Latin, that made a name.
Did the Chinese guards beat the prisoners?
No. But when we would swim in the river, we'd see how far out we could get before they'd start shooting at us. That's the only chance we had to take a bath was in the summertime, never in the winter.
What about water supply in the camp?
We drank out of the river. Occasionally there'd be a spring that would be making enough water. But like you said, everything was contaminated. It was,
In each little shack, how many prisoners would be in each shack?
well, once they got there, then they would be as many as 1, 2, 3, 4. It'd be as many as 8 to 12 in one little shack, about as big as this room.
What about 10 by 12 or something?
Yeah.
What were the shacks made of?
Mud and straw.
What'd you sleep on?
Just a straw mat, and they gave us a blanket in cold weather, So
Did you have a commander of the POWs? Was there a man in charge of the POWs?
well, like I say, in that camp, there were no NCOs, no officers, no any. They were all just the lower rank enlisted people. And the people in charge was the Chinese, and they'd tell you, okay, he's going to be your hut leader this week. And they'd point somebody in. Okay, you're in charge of getting them up and getting them out, and and maybe next week or the week after it'd be somebody else.
Anyone try to escape?
Well, yeah, a couple times they did, but they didn't get very far because there was no way of storing any food to take on the trip. And the North Koreans were unfriendly. And the ones that did try to escape were captured by the North Koreans. And when they were brought back by the North Korean army, they were dead. Now, we never did know whether the North Koreans killed them or the North Korean army killed them, whatever. And they brought them back, put them on display, and said, see, no need to try to escape. You're not going to get anywhere. So, you see.
What'd you do for Christmas?
Christmas, well, we'd sing a few songs when they weren't watching, and
Did you make anything in the camp, or did you have
decorations. No, we didn't have anything to make decorations with.
I mean, when you went to get the wood, did you keep any wood to make anything with, or how'd you pass the time when you in the camp?
Well, in the summertime it wasn't too bad because when they weren't holding meetings or classes or whatever, we could swim in the river. Exercise, and not only that, but it.
You seen any of the Allied airplanes go over?
Oh yeah, in 1953, and late in 52 and 1953, we'd see those MiGs come out of China, headed south, low and fast. And then it wouldn't be long until we'd hear something and look up and hear them MiGs would come back with them F-86 right on their tail.
What's your most vivid memory of prison camp?
Well, watching that river in the fall, in the winter, when it started getting cold, and that water would just sit out there and riffle. Then one night, it would calm, no wind. You'd wake up the next morning, and there's a sheet of ice all the way across that river. 2 days later, they're out there with ox carts, trucks, everything. They're going down the river on that ice, and it's in that short of time because it was a lot closer than going the road up over the mountains. And a lot of them talk about Red Cross packages. They say, we don't believe in the Geneva Convention. There'll be no Red Cross packages. There'll be no Red Cross workers come here to see how you're being treated. So forget it. And we didn't get no Red Cross package. We didn't see. We didn't. The first Red Cross people we saw was the day we were released. When we were released, the day we were released.
When were you released?
19th day of August, 1953. They give us a shave and a haircut and a hot shower and a new set of fatigues. And then the Red Cross took our picture and sent it to our next of kin.
Then you were released where?
Penmajan.
Penmajan. Is that a copy?
That's a copy of the Red Cross picture.
Yeah.
See?
You have another copy of this?
Huh?
Do you have another copy of this?
Yeah.
Can I keep this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, they give us a shave and a haircut and a hot shower and a new set of fatigues. Then the Red Cross took that picture to send to our next of kin. And then they said, would anyone like ice cream? And we hadn't had any dairy products in so long. Everybody, yeah. Vanilla or chocolate. Everybody wanted vanilla. And they give us that big bowl of ice cream. And you talk about good. Now that was really good.
What clothes were you wearing in the prison camp?
They gave us the first winter, we wore what we had on when we was captured. Then that following spring in 1951, once the river thawed and the barges come in, they brought a blue lightweight uniform, pants and a jacket. Mm-hmm. And then in the fall, they brought in another set of these cotton padded blue pants and jacket that we each got one set. So.
Whenever you heard you were going to be released, what was your reaction?
Well, we didn't know it was going to be released. There was rumors, but nobody verified. And one morning they got us up, said, okay, get everything you want to take with you. Well, nobody had anything they wanted to take with us, so, you know. And they marched us down to the railroad crossing and loaded us into boxcars, as many as they could get in there. And in one corner there was a bucket for to use as toilet, you know. And we started. They had as many people in that each boxcar as they could get, and when we started, I guess we were about 3 days getting the Patmanjan, where we unloaded off of that boxcar, and they marched us up to the gate up there where the UN and the U.S. people were, and single file, they take us through name, rank, serial number, and they check your file off and process, and then shave, haircut, hot shower, new set of fatigues, and that. Then that bowl of ice cream. Mm-hmm. After that, we were loaded on the deuce and a half where we went to Incheon. for processing.
What kind of latrine facilities did you have in the camp?
What kind of what?
Latrine facility.
We had to dig our own yes, slit trench.
So what'd you do at Incheon?
At Incheon, we were there, I don't know, 3-4 days. They processed us, gave us any shots, any medication we might need, a partial pay, and then they put us on that LST, and the General Pope was anchored out there in the bay, and they ferry us out there, and we'd board ship. And after 2 or 3 days, everybody was on board that they were going to be on, and they said, well, we're going to San Francisco. This ship can make it in 9 days. We were 15 days getting there.
Why 15 days?
Because they slowed down. We went on top deck there one day and looked out, and they must not have been doing over 2 knots. And we were being interviewed every day by CIA and Army intelligence. And it was the last thing they would say when they say, you can't tell anyone when you get home about this. It's classified. And besides that, they won't believe you anyway.
So the ship arrived where?
San Francisco.
Going under the Golden Gate Bridge, what were you thinking?
We got there in the middle of the afternoon. They dropped anchor under the Golden Gate Bridge. We could see everything going over, the lights, everything. And that's it. We were there.
On the ship?
The next morning, they pulled in and docked and unloaded us into this big warehouse where they had desks and personnel and typewriters, mimeograph machines, all of the necessary. And they would process everyone, another partial pay, and take you to the appropriate counter, whether it be airplane, bus, train, or whatever, to get you home. And I got there, it was airplane flight to Oklahoma City. And they said the plane leaves at 6 p.m. I said, what am I going to do all day? And they said, you have someone at the front door waiting on you. I said, I don't know anybody in San Francisco. I went over there, and that was my 5th grade teacher and his wife. He said, come on. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to lunch. They took me out to their house. They had fried chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy, biscuits, green beans, coconut cream pie for dessert, all of the things that your mother had been used to cooking when us. And then in the afternoon, then we spent time just killing time. In the evening, then they said, well, let's go to the airport. He loaded me up and took me to the airport and said our goodbyes.
And did you stay in the Army?
Beg your pardon?
Did you stay in the Army then?
No. When I got back to Fort Sill, they processed me. I got discharged. I was out 3 years and 9 months before I went back in.
Why'd you go back in?
Run out of a job. I had worked at everything. I had worked at a seismograph company. We done seismograph work in Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana. And then when I left that down in Louisiana, I come back. I got a job driving a truck. We were laying a high pressure gas line from Lindsay to Oklahoma City, and I was hauling pipe. After that pipeline was finished, I went to Ratliff City, where I went to work for a construction company in an oil field, and there I was driving a tanker hauling crude oil to Oklahoma City. And after that, I said, I got to do something else. I can't do this. I went to Fort Worth, where I went to work in a packing plant, cattle kill floor. And I spent almost a year there. Next thing you know, they weren't getting enough cattle and people started being laid off. I went to work for Convair Aircraft Assembly Plant there in Fort Worth. They were building a B-58. And one day, the rumors started. And by Friday, the rumors was really bad. And the pink slips came out. They said they lost their government contract. No more B-58s. I loaded up my stuff, come to Elmore City, picked up my DD-214, and come on up here to the recruiting office. I asked him, I said, can I enlist? He said, have you been in before? I said, yes. I handed him my DD-214. He looked it over. He said, you're not in the reserve? No. You're not in the National Guard? I said, no. He said, well, we're going to have to send you to Fort Carson for a refresher course in basic then. So I was up there 2 weeks on a refresher course. Didn't have to go to the range, didn't have to go to a lot of things that other people did. All I did was PT and a couple of classes on map reading and other things that really simple. And they sent me to Germany.
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 Where'd you go in Germany?
130th Station Hospital,
Where?
Heidelberg.
When did you rejoin the Army?
The 17th of July, 1957.
I didn't ask, when were you discharged the first time?
The October 28, 1953.
So what'd you do in Germany?
I was in Germany there, and I thought I'd be working in the hospital, but they put me on the security gate, and I said, this is not good, because I'm just killing time. There was no chance of anything. They said, well, we need somebody in unit supply. So I went down there and started to work. Learned the supply business. And I said, I need something else. I said, there's no a chance for promotion here. And they said, we need someone in medical supply. I said, I'll take it. And there wasn't that much difference in medical supply than unit supply, except we were handling medication instead of, and bandages and things instead of clothing. So I went to medical supply until I rotated back.
Were you still in the same unit?
Yeah, same. We went to Fort Bliss, Texas, there at William Beaumont General Hospital. We set up a field hospital there. And then when my enlistment ended, I said, I'm going to re-enlist, but I want to go to school. They said, what do you want to go to school for? I said, I'm going to be an airplane mechanic. Because I had been talking to this commander, an officer in Germany, who was a helicopter pilot. And when I told them that, they said, well, we don't know if you qualify or not. I said, well, let me know, because that depends on, I may not want to enlist if I don't get that. And a couple of days later, back up there, they said, called me back up personnel. Says, here's what we can do for you. We can send you to Fort Eustis, Virginia, to airplane mechanic school if you really is. I said, I'll take it. I re-enlisted, went to Fort Eustis, went to airplane mechanic school on Twin Beach. And after I finished there, I went to Fort Meade, Maryland. And headquarters company, and they didn't have an airplane. The 3rd Cav had airplanes, but the headquarters didn't have one. So I worked on 3rd Cav planes until such time that the presidential inauguration was coming up, and they said, hey, we need some people.
That's 1960?
61.
61, that's right.
And I said, what's that require? They said, you're going to Washington, D.C. So they loaded up a bus load and took us to Washington, D.C., where we spent a whole week. People from all over the U.S. was there because the motor companies, General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, they all furnished cars. They was between 400 and 500 cars in that one parking garage. All military people for drivers that week, because we were there all week, and the inauguration wasn't until Friday. Mm-hmm. And hauling VIPs around, whatever you happen to be drawn for. And I drawed a cabinet member, Secretary of Commerce, Luther B. Hodges, and his wife had a LeSabre convertible. And it was my job to check that out up and down and learn where we was going to go and the parade was going to go and everything. And on the parade day, him and his wife was in the rear seat. Lieutenant Commander of the he was in the front seat with me as aide, and we went for the parade. After the speech, then I took them back to their hotel, and then dropped the Lieutenant Commander off at his place and back to the garage and turned it in.
So you were driving the inaugural parade?
In the inaugural parade, 1961. Then they shipped me out to Indian Town, Gap, Pennsylvania, to a reserve unit up there, where the general up there had 2 planes. He had a Twin Beach and a single engine de Havilland, a U-6. So I had a job there. I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, you know, only. So we done that until everything, I was getting comfortable. Even met a good-looking girl there. And the next thing I know, said, you're shipping out. I said, well, where am I going? They said, you're going to Germany. So I got leave. I drove back to Elmore City, come across through Kansas City, Kansas, down through back there. I went to Mannheim, Germany, to the USMAC, U.S. Army Maintenance Depot. They done depot maintenance, they done everything there, and till such time that learned a lot in a short time. Not only that, the commander there got a C-45 from the Air Force that we rebuilt for his use. And then the man that was gonna be the crew chief on it, he said, I'm not gonna re-enlist, I'm going home. And they sent me down to France, there where we were rebuilding it, and I finished it up. We put new rebuilt engines, new rebuilt props, new de-icer boots, new fabric on the flight controls, everything.
What
New-
kind of airplane?
C-45,
And what's that? C-45.
Twin Beach, the old model, I got one here somewhere. Because I got to go a lot of places.
The commander in the C-45?
The RCO there at the depot,
Yeah.
he was a full colonel. And when the crew chief go to those places like Brussels, Belgium, or Copenhagen, or Nice, France, or wherever we go, all I had to do was, when we got there, was make sure the plane was serviced, everything, because his secretary scheduled us, made reservations, everything was at the same place, and then we'd meet at breakfast time to go back to the airfield for anyway, we'd go back to that and that's all I've done. I was on no kind of company details. I had nothing to do but just
That's C-45.
C-45.
Yep. Okay. What was your reaction when you heard about the Gulf of Tonkin?
The what?
Gulf of Tonkin. They're in South Vietnam.
On that. Everybody was worried about what was going on over there. It wasn't good. And my first tour over there was in a direct support unit at Vung Tau.
What unit were you with over there?
I was, it was a 611 maintenance battalion.
Was it
And all they done was they done field maintenance on helicopters, airplanes, everything in that one. That's all we done was maintenance. It was
Were you part of a division or a separate unit?
separate unit.
Okay.
And that's what we done there is just maintenance on airplanes, everything from, at that time the Army had the Caribou before the Air Force took it over. And we had Caribou, we had Bird Dog, U-6, U-1, and all kinds of helicopters, and we done maintenance on everything in
When did you go to Vietnam the first time?
1965. And then
Were
when
you
I
part of
came-
the advisors, or do we have troops over there?
Huh?
Were you an advisor, or do we have troops?
No, I
over
was a tech inspector.
Okay.
Then when I come back, I went to Fort Eustis, Virginia.
How long were you in Vietnam the first time?
1 year.
1 year.
When I came back, I went to Fort Eustis there where I was instructing mechanics, instructor for mechanics there at Fort Eustis
On
on the Twin Beach, U-8.
I went to helicopter school at Fort Eustis.
Then I was there almost a year and I went back to Vietnam. This time north of Da Nang up there to where we had that Mohawk company. And there I was the chief inspector of the Mohawks.
What unit up there?
Nighthawks.
Nighthawks. Now is that a unit, Nighthawks?
That was their code name. And they were those twin turbine engine Grummons. We had A models, B models, and C models. A model was visual surveillance only. The B model had the SLAR radar. The C model had infrared radar. And all of our reports went straight to the 5th Air Force, where they then took necessary action. Because our C models went out at night and they'd head straight north into North Vietnam. And them infrared, they would get some good pictures where they were located and what they were doing. 5th Air Force would respond.
And when did you go to Vietnam the second time?
1967.
1967.
I was there for the Tet Offensive in 1968.
Where were you when Tet broke out? Where were you when Tet broke out?
I was right there on the ramp at
Phu Bai?
William Phu Bai.
What'd you do in Tet?
I was Chief Tech Inspector.
So what'd you do during Tet?
During Tet?
Yeah.
We continued to send airplanes out. We had bunkers all along the ramp everywhere. So when mortars or anything started coming in, we might have to leave what we were doing in one of those bunkers. But as soon as they quit, back out, get that plane ready for the next flight.
I was at Red Beach when Tet broke out, up there at Da Nang.
You see, it was really, and that one afternoon, one of those Vietnamese rockets hit the 3rd Marine Division ammo dump. And you talk about fireworks, we had fireworks all afternoon and all night. And them 120s going off over that ammo dump, they really made a boom.
What was your reaction to the local people in Vietnam to you?
Well, in the second trip over there, we didn't get to associate with it. Everything was off limits. We couldn't go off post. We were there. That was it. You know. The first time over there, where we were allowed to go to town, go to the beach and everything, and they were just, just friendly, whatever.
Why were we in Vietnam?
Beg your pardon?
Why were we in Vietnam?
Because Johnson sent us there. I still don't know why. But like I said, it was, an experience.
What's your most vivid memory of Vietnam?
Most vivid number was the now I was in Saigon as a classified carrier taking those film to the 5th Air Force, and I couldn't get back out that night. I had to wait till the next day. I decided I'd take a walk down to Little Hanoi. I did that.
What's Little Hanoi?
As a part of Saigon that was either Viet Cong or sympathizers with the Viet Cong.
And you walked there?
Yeah, it was only 6 blocks down there. I walked down there. But I had a 38 shoulder holster. And I walked down there and walked in this one bar. Everything got quiet. I ordered a beer. They started looking at me, and directly here, this one woman from over there, speak a little English. Said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I want a beer." She said, "You know you shouldn't be here." I said, "Why?" She said, "You know where we are." I said, "Yeah, I know." She said, "You might not get out." I said, "If I don't, a lot of other people ain't going to get out either." Yeah. She went back over there, sat down with them other people. I said, "Well, I don't think I'll drink this beer." Went on back to the hotel. Waited till the next morning, went out to the airfield for catch a ride.
So what kind of aircraft is a Mohawk?
Mohawk is
Because this designation is OV, isn't it?
OB1.
OV1. That's observation?
Observation, yes. I got one here somewhere. Grumman airplane.
Twin turbine engine Grumman.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So when did you come back from Vietnam the second time?
Fort Eustis, Virginia.
When?
1968.
When did you get? What'd you do when you got back?
Instructor. Maintenance, airplane maintenance for the OB1. And then they moved the school, maintenance school, all to Fort Eustis. And I started instructing ground school for pilots on the U-8.
How long did you stay in the Army?
22 years altogether.
When did you retire?
1st of April 1974.
What did you do after you got back from Vietnam the second time? You stay at Fort Eustis?
No, I was at Fort Rucker. I was instructing there for mechanic school.
Oh, they moved everything to Fort Rucker from Fort Eustis.
They moved everything from Fort Rucker mechanics to Fort Eustis.
Fort Eustis.
And then I started instructing ground school for pilots on the U-8 at Fort Rucker.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I instructed everybody there from second lieutenant to one-star general. General Smith was going to Saudi Arabia, and he needed a refresher course. He spent most of his days at the Pentagon, and I would give him classes about 6 o'clock in the evening and then until so.
Would you join the Army again?
Will I join Army? Sure. It's a great place to be. In fact, I learned a lot there because when I got out, I had experience in a lot of things. I also had a 2-year college GED. Because the education center there was, as extension courses you could take was plentiful when you had time to take them.
I'd like you to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
First one is basic training.
Hot and sandy.
Medical Corps.
Tough job. Being an infantry medic is really tough.
2nd Infantry Division.
2nd Infantry Division, boy. Got no word for that.
USS General Stewart.
Hot and uncomfortable. Boy, that was a miserable ride.
Busan.
Busan, well, we weren't there long enough to really know because we went right onto a train and headed up to
Prisoner of War.
miserable. I would have wound up like a lot of them other people if I hadn't got mad at them Chinese. After I saw what they were doing, I got really angry with them. I said, they're not going to do me that way. And that's when I started, every chance I got to steal something to eat, or however I could get at it, whatever.
Now, doing what way? What were they doing?
Well, make sure I went out on all these wood details, but where you had the possibility of getting something. If you had tobacco, you could get something to eat. Everybody wanted enough tobacco to make a cigarette.
But you said you weren't going to let the Chinese treat you the way they did the other guys.
Well, I got mad, and every chance I got, we'd steal things from them. We even steal from the Koreans on our way to market, coming across our camp on market day. They'd take their dogs to market because they eat dog there.
Yeah.
We'd create a diversion down the street. Somebody slipped out, untie that dog off of that rope down behind the people.
Now, where was this in the camp?
In Camp 5.
So the Koreans came through Camp 5?
You know, the road run right through the middle of the camp.
Oh, okay. Did it have gates on each
Yeah.
side?
They come through on market day,
Okay.
and we'd steal them dogs.
If the person didn't get mad at the Chinese, would he survive?
A lot of people that didn't get angry with them and just kind of went along, they wouldn't eat what that was made available to them. They usually wound up starving to death. Well, I'm telling you, we had people there that bring out what we get to eat. They'd look at that, I ain't eating that. And they didn't survive when they got that. I had malaria for 3 summers or whatever. No medication.
How'd you survive?
Just determination, I guess.
When you hear the name John F. Kennedy, what do you think of?
I think about that inauguration day and the speech he made. 'Cause we, even though we weren't in the audience, we were parked close enough to the platform that we could hear the speech.
Lyndon Johnson.
Well, that's something that's I'm not too fond of. He's the one that got us in Vietnam.
Richard Nixon.
Well, he's the one that got us out.
Gerald Ford.
He went along to get along, I think.
Korea.
Terrible place. Cold in the winter, hot in the summer. 40 below in the winter, 10 above, 110 in the summer.
Vietnam.
Well, my experience in Vietnam wasn't as bad as Korea because I was in a whole new field of work, you know. You wasn't out in the jungle like some of the people. That 3rd Marine Division, they didn't have a club on their installation. And they'd go out a week or 2 at a time in the jungle looking on surveillance. And before they'd go back to the camp, they'd come by our NCO club and get a drink or 2, and then they'd go back to. We'd see them people come in off of them, been out there a week in the jungle, hadn't shaved, hadn't bathed, anything, and order a drink. They'd serve them whiskey in a water glass, not in a shot glass, because they spill it all trying to get it to their mouth. And now you know them people were in.
Who were those guys?
I don't know, 3rd Marine Division, boy, they.
How do you want to be remembered?
I hope I made a difference in the time I spent in the military, you know.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Think of anything.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview. I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
You're welcome.
And again, this is May 12th, 2009. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Charles Selby in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Thank you.
You're welcome.